Hello again, this is Omega Rider 1. Today is the beginning of JoJo's Bizarre Season. Well, JoJo's Bizarre Month. You see, I actually started doing these reviews back in October, and I thought, yay, I'm gonna plow through the entire JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series in 1 month. It turns out was not a good idea. Because one, it took a lot of time just to get very little done. Two, it started to drag very quickly for some of these fucking stories. Three, I had a lot to consider and even had a grace period between the finishing of the series and my actual review of it, so that I could solidify everything that I had actually seen, and also taken away any biases I may have had for that series. Same with my anime reviews. And most importantly was four. The reason it just took me so long is just I am fucking busy. Why am I busy? One, school. Two, projects with the Sunday Chronicles. And three, I also have a shit ton of homework as well as side projects on my website. So, I put it off. So now, November is JoJo's Bizarre Month rather than JoJo's Bizarre Season. So hopefully I'll be able to get all the videos done in this amount of time, whereas I know I'm not going to get all the written reviews done. I was not able to get all the written reviews done by the end of October. So, as I sit here rambling, I may as well get on to the review of the very first JoJo's series, Phantom Blood. Plot. In Victorian England, young Jonathan Joestar's world is turned upside down with the arrival of Dio Brando, a young man whose father saved Jonathan's own father after a carriage accident. Now brother to Jonathan, Dio begins to destroy everything near and dear to Jonathan, killing Danny, Jonathan's dog, beating Jonathan in a fight, stealing his friends, and kissing Jonathan's girlfriend, Irina Pendleton. Frustrated and fed up with Dio's actions, Jonathan challenges Dio to a fight and wins. Before Dio can stab Jonathan, George Joestar interferes and punishes Jonathan due to Dio's fake tears. Years later, the two boys become the best of friends, seemingly putting behind their hatred of one another, with Dio wanting to become a lawyer and Jonathan planning to become an archaeologist. However, George has become sick and is slowly dying. Jonathan suspects that Dio has been poisoning their father after finding a letter from Dario Brando, Dio's father, talking about similar symptoms to George's own illness. Dio poisoned his own father and now plans to poison George to inherit the Joestar family fortune. When Jonathan calls him out on it, Dio leaves the house with an ancient stone mask that Jonathan has been studying, planning to use it to kill him. Jonathan, meanwhile, tries to find a cure for the poison on the infamous Ogre Street, a place known for criminal activity. There he is ambushed by Robert E.O. Speedwagon and his gang, though they are soundly defeated by Jonathan. It is after this that Speedwagon does everything in his power to help Jonathan, sensing that he is an honorable man. Meanwhile, Dio drinks excessively, frustrated at both Jonathan and his drinking habit like his father, whom he detested for beating his mother constantly and hurting him too. When ambushed by two thugs, Dio kills one of the men and places the stone mask on the other. Instead of killing the man as Dio had thought, the mask turns the man into a powerful vampire, who nearly kills Dio until the sun rises and kills the man. Knowing of this, Dio makes his way back to the Joestar mansion as Jonathan and Speedwagon also return with the cure and police officers. Dio offers to turn himself in if Jonathan would be the one to place the handcuffs on him. Speedwagon interferes, noting that he can detect whether someone is good or bad, and warns Jonathan that Dio has been evil since birth. It is then that Dio tells Jonathan that humans have limits, so he rejects his humanity. Dio stabs George, wipes blood on the mask, and transforms into an invincible vampire before being shot by the police repeatedly and falling through a window. George dies in Jonathan's arms, saying that it's not bad for a father to do so. As George passes, everyone realizes that Dio's body is gone. In a flash, Dio sucks the blood out of several police officers, turning them into zombies. He then uses his new powers to fight Jonathan. Soon, the house is set ablaze, trapping Jonathan and Dio inside, while Speedwagon can only watch the mansion burn down. Jonathan manages to set Dio ablaze, but his regeneration occurs so fast that the fire can't even keep up with him. In a last-ditch effort, Jonathan tackles Dio off a ledge and impales him on a statue of the goddess of love, leading him to burn in the ruins of the Joestar house. Speedwagon takes Jonathan to the hospital where he is taken care of by Irina Pendleton, whose family moved to India due to her father's trade in medicine. She returned a few years later and now works as a nurse at the hospital Jonathan was staying in, nursing him back to health. Save for some broken bones and burns, Jonathan returns to a somewhat normal life. However, the man who sold Dio the poison returns to the Joestar house to find any valuables, only to be grabbed and sucked dry by Dio, turning the man into a vampire. Dio swears terrible vengeance while trying to recover his full strength. As Jonathan and Irina are relaxing, they are approached by a strange man wearing a unique-looking top hat. The man attacks Jonathan and punches him in the stomach, which instantly heals all of Jonathan's wounds. The man is William Antonio Zeppeli, a master of an ancient art known as Hamon, or ripple. This energy replicates the life-giving properties of the sun through breathing techniques and creates a ripple effect when in contact with objects. He explains that Dio is still alive and that Jonathan will have to learn the ripple to defeat Dio once and for all. The two, along with Speedwagon, plan to travel to a small village where Dio is supposedly hiding. However, they are attacked by Dio's henchmen, including Jack the Ripper and a pair of knights named Tarkus and Bruford. Zeppeli dies fighting Tarkus, giving all of his strength to Jonathan to defeat the giant man. Finally, Jonathan confronts Dio, and after a long, grueling battle, Jonathan decapitates Dio. Jonathan later plans to visit America with his wife Irina to study the stone mask and where it came from. Mexico. However, Dio returns as a simple severed head. A battle ensues between the two as Dio deals a fatal blow to Jonathan. Jonathan tells Irina to get off the ship, but not before telling her to bring a child whose mother was killed nearby with her as well. As the ship begins to break down, Dio pleads with Jonathan to allow him to attach his head to Jonathan's body so that they may live through this. Showing his newfound respect for his brother. Jonathan rejects this and says they both must die, holding Dio's head close as the ship explodes and sinks to the bottom of the ocean, carrying Jonathan and Dio down with it. Phantom Blood is one of the most enjoyable reading experiences I've had in a long time. The story is complex and deep and moves at a solid pace with no slow or fast parts. Though the story ends on a cliffhanger with Irina's fate, the ending is heart-wrenching and sad to see Jonathan go down with the ship. Overall, it stands out as one of the best stories I've seen thus far. A 20 out of 20. Characters. Phantom Blood establishes the cast rather well. Though there are a lot of side characters, they don't interfere too much with the story direction. Though I do feel some are just there to be stomped by Dio or Jonathan's party, like Dyer, who's killed within 3 pages. However, the main cast is very endearing due to having to follow Jonathan, Dio, and Irina since they were children up to the end of Phantom Blood. We see them grow and develop as characters and see their motivations throughout multiple stages in their lives. Our hero, Jonathan, is a kind-hearted boy who simply wishes to befriend everyone he meets and even extends his hand to Dio early on, only to be rejected and hurt in return for his kindness. Araki characterized Jonathan as a very honorable individual who stays true to his values and shows kindness to those like Bruford who fight as honorable warriors like himself. This honorable attitude also drives him to seek justice for slights against himself and other people. Dio, meanwhile, is a cunning, wrathful individual who really seeks to destroy anything in his way and is perfectly capable of it. However, he was shaped by his terrible home life due to his father, Dario, being a true-to-form bastard who drank away all the family's money and beat both his wife and son senseless on a regular basis. It's difficult not to want to see Dio catch a break until you see him do so many terrible things. One could argue that he was a monster well before putting on the stone mask. He even makes a woman eat her own infant's face by turning her into a zombie. After becoming a vampire, he holds no value for human life. Responding to Zeppeli's question to how many people whose blood he's drank, he responds, "Do you remember how many pieces of bread you've eaten in your life?" Then there's Zeppeli, who's a classic mentor, albeit a tad eccentric. Zeppeli saw the effects of the stone mask early in his life, when his father put on the mask and killed all the men on board the ship they were on, and nearly killed Zeppeli himself before being reduced to ashes in the morning light. It's from there he dedicates his life to destroying the stone mask. As a person, Zeppeli is very calm and rational in most situations, though Dio seems to be able to make him angry very easily due to his use of the stone mask and relishing its power. But then there's Speedwagon, a man who grew up experiencing nothing but evil deeds on Ogre Street, yet he has a great sense of morality and a friend forever, supporting Jonathan any way he can and going to great lengths to learn to fight like him and Zeppeli. a true friend to the end. 20 out of 20. Art. Araki's art style is heavily influenced by that of Tetsuo Hara in the first 3 parts of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The men in Phantom Blood are fucking huge, like freight trains of muscle and bone. Even Dio and Jonathan at 12 are fucking gigantic. However, this doesn't distract the reader from the actions going on in the story, as it's balanced out by the interesting plot. The overall designs, however, are grounded in realistic-looking faces and designs, again drawing influence from Tetsuo Hara, with the clothing and hairstyles being actually possible to have, but also remaining iconic compared to the other anime and manga characters, and it's very well done. A 10 out of 10. Overall, a great way to get yourself into the series, Phantom Blood easily establishes itself as a powerhouse in the series, managing to get so much done in so few chapters. If you're looking to get into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, start at the beginning. I give JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood a 10 out of 10. Stay tuned for next time, guys, as I review Part 2, Battle Tendency. This is Omega Rider 1, and I'll be seeing you later.